What's up, everybody? As promised, the flip side of the video I posted on Tuesday, which was the most disappointing players to start the year, we have the most, pleasantly surprising players to start the season. Once again, apologies for the lighting, camera work, etc. I am back at my family's place for the holidays, but nonetheless wanted to get this video out to you guys since there is no hockey on Thanksgiving, but hopefully y'all like football because, of course, we have a bit of that. So I'm going to go through a few honorable mentions here to start things off. Thatcher Demko for the Canucks. I don't think he had low expectations coming into this year, but he has been fantastic to start the year. Similar player, Vinny Trocheck, obviously not a goalie, but for the Rangers has been really, really good to this point. Kind of one of their leaders going into the year. I don't think he was expected to have the production he's had to this point, but obviously he's been fantastic. And then William Nylander, another guy who expected to produce a lot, probably not expected to produce this much. He's very much living up to the standard of having a contract here. He's definitely having one of those for himself and is going to be getting paid at the end of the season. So those are just a few honorable mentions. Obviously, there's a ton of players playing really well to start the year. Goal scoring is still up despite there being a few goalies on this list. So starting at number one, and again, this is in no particular order, just throwing 10 guys at you. The first is Connor Ingram of the Arizona Coyotes. To start the year, he is 6-2-0 after tonight's loss to the St. Louis Blues. He did not play the full game there, but nonetheless, in the games he's played, he's got a .291 goals against average and a .911 save percentage. This is a guy that really didn't have any expectations coming into the year, was not expected to be the starter. Really wasn't even a 1A, 1B type of situation in Arizona, but he has been fantastic. I think without him in net, the Coyotes are like 2-7 or 2-6 or something like that. He's really carried them through a lot of their games, so he's definitely been a big surprise for them and is frankly looking to take over the starting role as the season moves along here. Up next, a guy that had some pretty big expectations but has met and very well exceeded them is Quinn Hughes of the Vancouver Canucks. Hughes, 8 goals, 22 assists, good for 30 points in, I believe, 19 games. He's also a +16. This is a guy that has made comments over the offseason about how he's sick of losing, he's sick of all the drama, and he is walking and talking that way this year. He's been absolutely outstanding. He leads the league in points as a defenseman. Almost 20 games into the season. That is unreal considering some of the forward talent that exists in this league. So Quinn Hughes has been unbelievable. I'm really hoping he can keep this up throughout the year because it'll end up being one of the best Norris campaigns we've seen in a very, very long time. He's been fantastic to watch. The second and final goalie on this list is Cam Talbot of the LA Kings. He's started 12 games, played in 13. Through those games, he's 9-3 with a .202 goals against average and a .930 save percentage. Talk about some Vezina numbers. Cam Talbot has got them to this point. Goaltending was a big concern for the Kings coming into this season, and so far he has completely silenced the doubters. Phoenix Copley, his tandem partner, has not been great, but he has really taken this thing by the reins, helped the Kings win a lot of games. They obviously have a lot of goal scoring support to help him out, but frankly, this team could be middle of the pack in goal scoring and they'd still be winning a ton of hockey games. Talbot has been fantastic. If he can keep this thing up, they have a very good chance at winning not just the Pacific, but the West as a whole, and hell, maybe even the President's Trophy. So we'll see if he can keep it up. Obviously, as mentioned in the last video, time is undefeated, but to this point, he has been unbelievable for the Kings. Next, this one's maybe a bit of a hot take. His point production isn't anything crazy, but it's Pavel Zacha of the Boston Bruins. He's got 7 goals and 7 assists and is a +7 throughout his games so far this season. Obviously, one of the bigger concerns for the Bees was their center depth, starting the season off with Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha as their, 1A, 1B, 1 and 2, whatever you want to call it. Zacha has taken the number 1 center spot and really ran with it. Obviously, he's playing with Pasta and Marchand at times, so not two bad wingers to play with by any means, but he's really done a good job filling in for the loss of either Bergeron, Krejci, whichever role he's filling there, helping on the power play a bit, producing where needed, but really just done a good job being a facilitator, playing as much of a 200-foot game really as he has in his entire career. So it's been good to see for him. We'll still see if the Bruins want to make a move come closer to the deadline, especially if they are still performing the way they have to start the season. But for now, Zacha is definitely exceeding the expectations that the Bees had for him. Heading back out west for this one, the second defenseman on the list is Shea Theodore, another guy that had pretty high expectations coming in, but I don't think people expected him to be a point-per-game guy. He's got 4 goals and 14 assists in 19 games to this point, a +3 as well for what it's worth. He's running their power play. He's really playing number 1 minutes, eating a ton of time out there. this is still a team that has a really, really deep defense group. Alex Martinez, Alex Pietrangelo, etc. He's really taken the reins here. Not that that wasn't the expectation for him going into the year, but the production from Theodore has just been unbelievable. I don't think that was part of what was expected of him at all. Don't get me wrong, he's a guy that has offensive upside. We saw that in previous years, even with the Ducks back in the day, but he's been unbelievable to this point, and really become an offensive weapon for them that they didn't know they needed, but here we are. Another guy out west that we knew had some offensive upside, but we question maybe a bit considering the team he played on and his age, is Ryan O'Reilly. Again, we knew this guy had it. He's playing on a kind of dimmed down Nashville Predators team compared to years past, but so far this year he's got 8 goals and 8 assists. Of course, playing with Philip Forsberg, with the way Forsberg's been playing, will help that. He probably deserved to be an honorable mention or maybe on this list himself, but O'Reilly especially has been doing really, really well filling into that number 1 center role when it's probably not best suited for him anymore, but again, proving the doubters wrong here big time. He's been fantastic for the Preds, one of the few bright spots for them so far this season. We'll see if he can keep it up. Again, time is undefeated. He's got a lot of miles on his legs, but he's been very impressive to start the year for a Preds team that has largely been struggling quite a bit. Heading back to the Pacific Division for the final time in this video, we're headed to Anaheim, where we have Frank Vatrano, who is absolutely giving every goalie in the league sunburn so far this season. He's got 13 goals and 5 assists, a +4. He's been arguably the Ducks' best player at this point. I know Mason McTavish is going to have some things to say about that, but another guy who we knew all along had a pretty nasty shot, but 13 goals was not the plan in the first 20 games of the season for the Ducks. He's been unbelievable. Really, again, dragging them kicking and screaming through some of their games, much like Mason McTavish has been. If he can keep this up, he's one of the reasons why the Ducks have been competitive at this point, along with a handful of other guys, but has been by far the most surprising player on that team. If he can keep this pace up, he's looking at like 60 goals. I don't think that's the expectation by any means, but he's already well over halfway to 20. If he can push 30, that's fantastic for this Ducks team, who last year maxed out at like mid-60s for points for Trevor Zegras. This would be a huge gain for the Ducks if Vatrano can keep this pace up. Over in Philadelphia, the final defenseman on this list is Travis Sanheim. He's got 2 goals and 14 assists through his 18 games played. A -3, but a Flyers team that's kind of middle of the pack on and off as far as their winning and losing success goes, but he's been fantastic, by far the best D-man on this roster. A roster, frankly, that probably expected Cam York to jump into that role, or at least closer to it this year. Done a great job running the power play, really locking things down in his own zone where possible. Obviously, there's not so much talent on this team compared to some others, but he's been really, really good to this point. He's become Torts' workhorse. Really a fantastic start to the year for Sanheim, who faced a lot of adversity in the offseason. This is a guy that was expected to be traded to St. Louis. Torrey Krug turns the trade down, and he ends up stuck in Philly, and to this point, he has absolutely tackled the adversity and played fantastic to start this year off. Over in Winnipeg, some of you guys think I'm probably about to say Kyle Connor, and though I don't disagree that he might deserve to be on this list as well, I'm going with Cole Perfetti for this one. A guy whose expectations were much lower than Kyle Connor's, but he's been fantastic to this point as well. 6 goals, 9 assists, a +8, and has been, frankly, a fantastic scoring complement to this team. A Jets offense that's, frankly, surprised a lot of people, and Cole Perfetti is a big part of that. Frankly, if he can keep this up, and if the Jets offense can keep this up, they are going to make the playoffs. You can stamp my name on that one tonight, November 23rd, 2023. I like my odds there. Cole Perfetti has been fantastic. I really hope he can keep this up. An exciting player to watch, a guy that has kind of had a long time coming here for the Jets, and frankly, just been really fun to watch his success so far this season. The final player on this list, a bit of an older vet and a guy who's had success before but has had a really good start to the beginning of this year, is Brian Rust, obviously playing alongside Sid. Not super hard to score goals, but he's got 9 of them, +7 assists, a +10. Just a fantastic start to the year. He opened the NHL season as a whole for the Penguins. Just been very consistent to this point. You don't expect a guy like him to be pushing a point per game, but he's there right now. Obviously, again, playing with Sid will do that for you, but if he can keep this up, he's going to be one of the reasons that the Penguins also find their way into the playoffs despite a shaky on and off start to the season. But those are my 10 guys that have been pleasant surprises. Again, I know there's a lot of them so far to start the year, but these are just the 10 that I in particular thought were deserving of this list, especially, again, considering what their expectations were heading into the year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who else deserved to be on this list? Who did I completely blank on? Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe as well. It is free, and we will catch you guys tomorrow for the 44th, I believe, NHL regular season recap.